Hello, this is Lynn and I from Westeros.org, and we've decided to make a few videos in which we discuss A Dance of Dragons in more detail. We're going to be focusing a bit on questions of the plot, mysteries, things that happen, and our first topic is going to be Young Griff and who he is purported to be. Now, we have very definite ideas about this one.
Oh, yes.
We first hear mention of him. This is actually a chapter of George read years ago when we first read it, and everyone thought he was... a lot of people thought that it was going to go this direction. And then in the next chapter, or actually towards the end of that chapter maybe, Tyrion sees him and describes him, and he's got blue hair, but that's dyed. In fact, the roots are showing it's a very pale silver gold.
Silver gold, blonde, sort of.
And his eye
seen on certain other characters.
And his eye color is described as...
is it a purple or a dark?
It's a blue, but the blue, rather it's a purple, but the blue of his hair makes it seem blue. So it is sort of... I mean, violet eyes in the real world are a kind of blue eye, but it's just like different in the pigment. So he's lanky. And now Tyrion estimates him to be about 15, 16, or near enough that it makes no difference. Somewhere around that age. And then he figures out that, in fact, Griff and Septa Lamore and Duck and Halden the Half-Maester and the two Dornishmen are supporters of him because he is Aegon Targaryen. He is the son of Rhaegar and Elia.
The son that everyone thought was killed during the sack of King's Landing. And now we've obviously had people, certainly fans, have been suspecting for a long while that, maybe both children weren't killed after all. We're talking about a baby. How could they be certain that it was the right baby that was killed?
Yeah.
Actually, that's exactly what we have.
Yeah, because back in... I could show people a thread from 2001 on the... Not the old board, not easy board, but the old board, EE site, where people are talking about this possibility that Aegon is alive. Yeah. So this is something that for some people, it's out of nowhere, but people have been speculating this for a long time. You can say, it's just... fans grasping.
There's an old report from George where we haven't been able to source the original of this one any longer, but it is in the Suspect Martin, where they asked him, are Rhaegar's children dead? And supposedly all he did was confirm that Rhaenys was dead.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, when I was looking at that old thread, there was even an older report where the fellow reported, not verbatim, that George told them both were dead. And then when I actually tracked this person down, I said, are you sure of that? Because this new one came out, and the guy said, well, I thought that's what he said, but maybe I'm wrong. So is he or is he not Aegon Targaryen? Well, let's talk about the things for him. He has the Valyrian look.
Yep.
He's got the lankiness. He's about the right age, although, in fact, Aegon was about a year and a half, possibly as old as 2 years old at the time of the sack. He's looking 15 or 16, as Tyrion guesses. Now, George has said, I don't know exactly how tall my friends are. I don't know exactly the color of my friends. I don't necessarily know exactly how old my friends are. I couldn't tell you how to guess. So this could just be Tyrion being wrong. So we'll give it a second. He's a gifted swordsman.
Yeah.
Rhaegar was good at everything he did. He's got a fine education. He seems to have a pretty good mind on him. He has a temper, which Tyrion comments, he really could be a Targaryen. Targaryens have a bit of a hot blood.
Well, certainly is that, not all of them necessarily. I don't know that Rhaegar was described as having a temper, but certainly suggesting that some of that sort of innate royal attitude might be in his blood, but it's hard to say whether... obviously, one always has the question of how did they switch out the baby without Elia knowing? I
think you'd have to assume that she knew that this was a last-ditch effort to protect her child.
And then why didn't she, argue for Rhaenys being rescued as well? Or
although the counter to that is she's an infant. Much harder to put in a fake for her.
True, but why did they need a fake necessarily?
Just taking her away, I guess. I think the problem would be that they would search. Oh my God, Rhaenys, are we sure that this one is the real one? And they got rid of this one out. So that was a danger. But I mean, it's a Elia. I could even see George writing this someday, a little chapter for sort of a Sophie's choice. Which child do I save? What do I do? Do I save one of them, or do I risk both of them?
Yeah. If, of course, that's what
actually happened. Now, whatever things, Griff and everyone believes it.
Absolutely.
Countering that is the fact that Griff did not get introduced to his fact.
He wasn't in the plot from the start.
No, because we are told that he was serving with the Golden Company for about 5 years. And that's when he and Blackheart, Miles Toyne, put together were contacted by Varys, and they
put together the idea that he would be accused of stealing, so that they could discharge him, and then he would supposedly die from drinking and
because no one talks about cravens and thieves, so they all believe it. They don't necessarily have any reason to believe it, other than never told them that they want to believe it. Illyrio seems to have raised him prior to that point in time. We have Tyrion wandering around in his mansion, and he finds this chest with the old
clothing,
kind of moth-eaten child's clothes. And then later, when he's getting dressed in clothing, it's a boy's clothes.
Yeah.
I don't know if Tyrion explicitly figures out, but this must have been his clothing. But I would
I don't
be
think
surprised.
He actually makes reference to it.
I would guess that he would probably have guessed it. Although the fact that Illyrio seems to have kept the clothing is kind of interesting to me, because there seems to me a sentimental value there. And then when he's sad about not being able to see him, because they can't wait for him, he seems very sad, and Tyrion's wondering what's up with that.